Hi everybody, I'm Carmine. Today we're excited to present our EE327 project idea, the hybrid controller. It's a wireless controller that combines the functionality of both an arcade stick and a hitbox, which are commonly used in fighting games like Street Fighter or Tekken. For this project, our goal is to create a controller that supports both arcade stick and hitbox playstyles, giving users the flexibility to switch between them in a single wireless device. This is specifically designed for arcade style fighting games, which require precision speed from their input devices. Here are some of our key design decisions that we have made so far. First, it will be compatible with computer games only. Next, users will be able to swap the lever and movement buttons to suit their preferred playstyle. Combining both input styles can make the left side feel crowded, so we're paying attention to the ergonomics. Finally, the case will feature a rubber bottom to avoid slipping during intense gameplay. And if we have extra time, we like to focus on reducing input latency, potentially add a second device, and offer remappable keys. At this point, we're still waiting on parts to arrive. Our first prototype will likely be a basic version without the swappable components or wireless features. We want to first confirm the core controller functionality with PC games before moving on to the more complex features. Here's our bill of materials showing what we have ordered so far, being the arcade lever, arcade buttons, battery charger, and a LiPo battery. This came out to $63.39. This gives us some leeway for ordering in the future, while also letting us test the key ideas of our project. And here's our Gantt chart showing our completed tasks so far, our current tasks we have pending, and upcoming tasks. This is similar to the templated task we were given, with some minor adjustments to fit towards our specific project. I'll now hand it over to Carlos to talk about market research and our findings so far.
Okay, so now I'm going to talk about market research. And our target population is arcade style fighting game players. So these games include Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, Brawlhalla, and Tekken. And when it comes to the market size, there's millions of these players. Estimates are pretty hard to find because sometimes they count people that just downloaded the game or just tried it, which isn't really a great estimate. And then also only looking at active players isn't the best because not everybody plays every day and they're still would consider themselves fighting game players. But the best estimates are somewhere in the millions when you combine some of these bigger games that often have hundreds of thousands of players at a time. And when it comes to our competitors, there's the Hitbox Arcade and Frame One, and these are companies that focus on the high-end leverless side of the market, usually designed for professionals and those that are just really serious about the game. They focus on minimizing latency and any lag that comes from the controllers. And their controllers usually run in the high 200s to $300 range. And then there's also Quamba, and Quamba focuses on levered controllers, very similarly designed for pros and those at the higher levels because it's very high end, and those also run for well into like the 250 $300 range. And as you can see, the companies tend to focus on one type of controller. None of them really, especially at the high end, don't really dip themselves into both markets because they just seem to be better at specializing in one thing. Um, so then I started looking into interviewing two different fighting game players. One of them is a master player, and the other one is just got to Diamond. So he's a little newer. The other one, the master player, has been playing fighting games for at least a decade. And what he said was that modability is very important because players have a wide range of preferences when it comes to the peripherals they use to play. So their hitbox or their hit stick or whatever they may have. So he said that for our product, the opportunity to have so many different sticks, buttons, or designs or artworks on the device is actually really cool and would definitely set it apart from the competitors because they don't really allow for any modability. You order a certain model and you get what you get and you get what they originally designed. And you can't really do much about it. But so he said that adding that character to your devices would be really cool. One other thing he brought up that is very important is that in order to really touch into the competitive side of the market, we would probably need to look at PS5 compatibility because many of the Street Fighter, especially competitions such as Evo, are hosted on PlayStation 5s. So if you have a device that doesn't work on a PlayStation 5, then the professional players can never use them because they just won't work. So that's actually a very important consideration we're not looking at. And then when I was talking to the lower rated player, uh, the newer player, he said that one thing that he was really interested in hearing is about how our device could allow for a lot of experimentation for newer players. Because typically when you first start playing a fighting game, you don't know if you're really going to be into it or not. So you might not want to spend a lot of money on different devices and trying them all out and seeing which works the best for you. So having the ability to swap out a levered and leverless controller and having that hybrid allows you to put in time on both different versions of the controller and see which one you actually end up preferring. So when you start off, it allows you to experiment a lot more and a lot more efficiently without costing so much. And they both agree that something in the 200 price range would be amazing and they would definitely buy it if it was around that price point. And so far doing this project, we've learned how to configure EC2 instances on AWS and set up a server with Python. This is going to be really important once we get into debugging our device and making sure that the keystrokes go to the computer properly and everything is wired properly and everything works in sync. And furthermore, once we make our website uh, to monitor a device, it's going to be really important for keeping track of the inputs. So not just seeing what's being pressed at the moment, but what has been pressed and the timings to take a look at our latency and see how we compare to other options, which is really important for fighting games. Latency and accuracy are the two things that can make or break something being used for these types of games that require a lot of precision. Now, some simple questions we have for you guys is if there's any suggestions for how to make it modular. So I know I've been going between a couple ideas, such as swapping an entire side, so having three halves of a controller and then picking two of them together to make one whole one, or having the base stay the same and then swapping in a top plate that either has buttons or a lever on it, which would involve making the wiring basically pluggable. And then the last question we have is what is your opinion on having the ability to remap the buttons on the device? Because I know it would be great to remap the buttons to whatever you want, but most of the time players do this in game already. So I'm not sure how much value that would add to our device. And that is all. So thank you very much.